The rain-slicked streets of Barcelona's Gothic quarter gleamed under the sodium lamps like veins of molten silver, but 12-year-old Serenity didn't notice. She huddled in the doorway of an abandoned bookstore, her backpack soaked through, clutching the only photo she had left of her mother. A faded Polaroid from happier days in their cramped Queens apartment back in New York. "You're not my daughter anymore," her father's voice echoed in her mind, slurred with whiskey and fury. The words that had hurled her across an ocean and into this nightmare after he discovered her stolen kiss with a neighborhood girl. Now stranded in Spain on a family trip turned exile, she was utterly terrifyingly alone. A shadow fell over her and she flinched, expecting the worst. Another stranger's indifference or worse, cruelty. But the woman who crouched down, her designer trench coat brushing the wet pavement, had eyes like polished amber, soft and searching. "Hey kid," she said in a voice warm as fresh-baked cornbread, laced with that unmistakable Brooklyn twang. "You look like you've seen the end of the world. What's your name?" Serenity's heart hammered, but something in that gaze, fierce yet kind, cracked her open. "Serenity," she whispered, the word tasting like salt and regret. "And I think I just got thrown away." Sienna Rossi had always believed in second chances. Hell, she'd built an empire on them. At 48, she was the queen of indie film production. Her company, Silver Screen Dreams, turning gritty New York tales into Oscar contenders that tugged at America's heartstrings. But tonight, dodging paparazzi after a tense funding meeting in Barcelona, where she'd come to scout locations for her next project about fractured families, she'd taken a wrong turn into this labyrinth of medieval alleys. And there, like a discarded script waiting for its hero, was the girl. Sienna's own scars ran deep. Orphaned at 10 in the Bronx, raised by a string of indifferent aunts until she clawed her way to Yale on scholarships and sheer grit. She'd come out at 22 losing friends, family ties fraying like old film reels. Now single after a string of heartbreaks with women who couldn't handle her spotlight, she poured her soul into stories that healed what real life wouldn't. This kid, with her wide blue eyes and freckles dusted like cinnamon on her cheeks, hit her like a plot twist she hadn't seen coming. "Thrown away," Sienna echoed, settling onto the cold stone beside her, ignoring the chill seeping through her Armani slacks. "Honey, nobody gets to decide your worth but you. Come on, let's get you dry. There's a cafe around the corner. Best hot chocolate in Catalonia. Swear on my nana's grave." Serenity hesitated, her small frame shivering not just from the rain but from the terror of trust. Back home, trust had meant her dad's belt or her mom's averted eyes. But this woman, Sienna, she introduced herself with a grin that crinkled the corners of her eyes, didn't push. She just stood, offering a hand gloved in soft leather, and for the first time in hours Serenity took it. The cafe was a hole-in-the-wall called La Lum, tucked under a crumbling archway where locals nursed espressos and argued politics in rapid Catalan. Sienna ordered 2 churros con chocolate, extra thick, and a plate of encimada pastries that flaked like autumn leaves. As Serenity devoured them, chocolate smudging her chin, the story spilled out in fits and starts. The trip to Spain for her dad's fresh start after mom's death, the stolen moment with Maria, the neighbor's daughter, caught peeking at a magazine's hidden pages. The slap, the screams, the shove out the hotel door with nothing but her backpack and a one-way ticket to nowhere. Sienna listened, her face a mask of controlled fury, fingers drumming the scarred wooden table like she was scoring a tense scene. "That's not love, that's fear," she said finally, voice low and steady. "Your dad's broken, kiddo. Doesn't make you any less whole." She pulled out her phone, dialing with efficient taps. "Elena? Yeah, it's C. I need a favor, quiet one. Got a minor here, American, needs a safe place tonight." Yeah, the usual discretion. Within the hour, Serenity was whisked to a discreet B&B on the edge of the Izample district, a sun-drenched flat with wrought iron balconies overlooking gaudy-esque whimsical rooftops. Elena, Sienna's fixer and old college roommate, handled the paperwork with the ease of someone who'd navigated worse scandals. By dawn, with embassy calls and social services looped in under Sienna's considerable influence, Serenity had a temporary guardian, Sienna herself. It wasn't planned that first month. Sienna's Barcelona pied-a-terre became a makeshift home, high ceilings echoing with laughter over paella takeout, walls lined with scripts and Polaroids from sets in Brooklyn and LA. Serenity, dubbed Ran by Sienna's casual affection, bloomed like a desert flower after rain. She devoured Sienna's library of dog-eared novels. Audre Lorde, Alice Walker, tales of women loving women against the world's grain. Mornings were for sketching in the courtyard, her charcoal drawings capturing the curve of the sea against the sky, raw and unpolished but full of fire. Sienna watched it all with a mix of awe and ache. This girl, with her quick wit and quiet storms, reminded her of the kid she'd been, fierce, forgotten, fighting for air. But there were boundaries. Sienna was the mentor, the savior, not the mother or more. Still, late nights bled into confessions over glasses of Tempranillo. Sienna shared her own coming-out war stories, the aunt who called her unnatural, the girlfriend who bailed when fame knocked. "Love's a gamble, Ran," she'd say, swirling her wine. "But it's the only bet worth taking." By summer's end, with Serenity's dad deported back to New York amid a custody battle Sienna's lawyers shredded like confetti, the girl was hers, not legally yet, but in every way that mattered. They flew to the States, trading Barcelona's salt air for Manhattan's hustle. Sienna's brownstone in Brooklyn Heights became their fortress, ivy-cloaked, with a garden where fireflies danced like errant stars. Serenity enrolled in an arts magnet school, her sketches evolving into bold oils that captured the grit of Coney Island summers and the ache of empty subway cars. Years slipped by like frames in a montage. At 16, Serenity was a force, tall and willowy, her auburn hair cropped short in a defiant pixie, blue eyes sharp as shattered glass. She crushed on girls at school, fumbling first kisses under bleachers, but always circled back to Sienna's steady orbit. Sienna, now 52, had softened around the edges, her silver streaks more prominent, her laugh lines etched deeper from boardroom battles and a quiet battle with burnout. Her latest film, Echoes of Exile, about a queer teen navigating foster care, won Sundance, dedicated, unspoken, to the girl who'd inspired its soul. But Love, that sneaky director, had other cuts in mind. It started innocently enough, the shift. A brush of hands over a shared script in Sienna's study, the room awash in lamplight and the scent of aged leather-bound books. Serenity, home from her first year at RISD, had crashed the production meeting for Sienna's new project. A sprawling drama set in post-Franco Spain, weaving threads of identity and inheritance. "You're a natural, Run," Sienna had said, her voice husky from a long day, as Serenity read lines with a fire that made the room hush. Their eyes locked across the table, and for a heartbeat, the air thickened, charged like the moment before thunder. Serenity pulled back first, cheeks flushing, muttering about needing air. She fled to the garden, heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. Sienna was everything. Anchor, architect of her second life, the woman who'd taught her to claim space in a world that tried to erase her. But lately, those lessons felt laced with something electric, forbidden. At 20, Serenity knew desire, had tasted it in stolen weekends with a sculptor named Lila. All curves and chaos, but this was deeper, a current pulling her under. Sienna, pacing her office later that night, poured a Scotch neat and stared at the city lights twinkling beyond the window. She was no fool. She'd directed enough romances to spot the signs. The way Ren lingered in doorways, her gaze tracing Sienna's profile like a brushstroke. The casual touches, a hand on her shoulder during a nightmare, fingers lingering too long. Sienna had sworn off complications. Her last lover, a fiery director from L, had left scorch marks on her trust, accusing her of loving work more than flesh. And Ran? She was family, fragile still. A plotline Sienna couldn't afford to twist. Yet, as weeks blurred into a humid New York autumn, the pull grew insistent. They collaborated on the film, Serenity as production assistant, her fresh eyes catching details Sienna's weary ones missed. Late edits in the screening room, feet tangled under the console, laughter echoing off velvet walls. One evening, after a wrap party where champagne flowed like the East River, they stumbled home arm in arm, the city a blur of neon and noise. "You're brilliant, you know that?" Sienna slurred, keys fumbling in the lock, her breath warm against Serenity's ear. "This film. It's us. All of it." Serenity turned, the hallway dim and intimate, her hand steadying Sienna's waist. "It's you," she whispered, voice raw. "Always has been." The kiss was inevitable, a collision soft as fog yet fierce as a storm surge. Sienna's lips parted in surprise, then surrender, her fingers threading into Serenity's hair as if anchoring a ship in wild seas. It tasted of Merlot and longing, years of unspoken scripts finally spoken. They broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed, the weight of what they'd ignited hanging heavy. "We can't," Sienna murmured, even as her thumb traced Serenity's jaw. "Why?" Serenity's eyes blazed, defiant. "Because I'm young? Because you saved me? Or because you're scared, see?" Sienna stepped back, the door clicking open like a judgment. "All of it. Go to bed, Ren. We'll talk tomorrow." But tomorrow brought distance. Sienna buried in reshoots, Serenity in sketches that bled anger onto canvas. The film premiered to acclaim, critics raving about its tender exploration of found family and forbidden blooms. At the after-party in a Soho loft, overlooking the Hudson's inky shimmer, Serenity watched Sienna charm investors, her laugh a shield. A producer sidled up, all teeth and cologne. "Your mentor's a force. Ever think of going solo?" Serenity's smile was sharp. "She's more than that." The betrayal came swift, a dagger in the ribs. It was Lila, Serenity's old flame, now a rising gallery curator, who spilled it over coffee in Williamsburg, her voice laced with schadenfreude. "Sienna's been seeing someone. High profile. That tech heiress from the gala last month. Saw them at Le Bernardin, hands all over each other." Serenity's mug shattered on the saucer, coffee pooling like accusation. "You're lying." Lila shrugged, eyes pitying. "Check her phone, babe. Or don't. But don't say I didn't warn you." That night, the brownstone felt like a mausoleum. Sienna arrived late, reeking of perfume not her own, jasmine and something sharper like ambition. Serenity waited in the kitchen, arms crossed, the air thick with unsaid storms. "Who is she?" The words burst out, brittle as autumn leaves. Sienna froze, coat half off, her face paling under the pendant light. "Ren what?" "The heiress. Victoria Langford. Don't gaslight me, see? I saw the texts. Can't wait for Paris." Real subtle. Sienna's shoulders sagged, defeat etching lines deeper. "It's not. We were just talking. Networking. The film's expansion." "Networking with tongue?" Serenity's laugh was hollow, tears hot on her cheeks. "God, I was so stupid. You pulled me from the gutter, gave me a life, and I thought it meant something. But I'm just the charity case, right? The plot device you fix and forget." "No." Sienna lunged forward, grasping Serenity's arms, her grip desperate. "You're everything. This Victoria. It's a mistake, a distraction from how much you scare me. You're young, brilliant, and I'm terrified of breaking you like they broke me." Serenity wrenched free, the distance between them a chasm. "You already did." She stormed out, the door slamming like a final cut. The streets swallowed her, Brooklyn's pulse a mocking heartbeat, as she wandered to the park where it had all begun, not in Spain but in memory. There, under the willows by the pond, she sank to the bench, sobs racking her frame. Betrayal wasn't just the lie. It was the hope she'd dared to nurture, now ash in her mouth. Sienna found her at dawn, eyes red-rimmed, a thermos of coffee in hand like an olive branch. "Ren," she whispered, sitting at arm's length. "I ended it. Last night after you left. She's gone." Serenity's gaze was steel. "Why should I believe you?" "Because I love you," Sienna said, the words tumbling like a confession in the script they'd never filmed. "Not as the kid I saved. As the woman who's remade me. But if you need time, space, take it. I'll wait. However long." The sun crested, gilding the leaves, and in that fragile light, Serenity reached out, fingers brushing Sienna's. Not forgiveness, not yet, but a thread thin as spider silk, holding against the wind. Winter clamped down on New York like a vice, the kind that squeezed secrets out into the open. Serenity moved out, not far, a sublet in Dumbo with exposed brick and views of the Brooklyn Bridge that mocked her with its sturdy spans. She threw herself into her senior thesis at RISD, a series of paintings titled Exiles, canvases alive with fractured figures against stormy Spanish coasts, blues and grays bleeding into defiant golds. Critics at her virtual showcase called it a raw elegy to inheritance and desire. But only Sienna knew the blood in the brushstrokes. Sienna, adrift in the brownstone's echoing halls, canceled a European press tour and dove into revisions for her next script. A quieter tale of two women rebuilding after loss, set in the vineyards of Rioja. Nights blurred into therapy sessions with Dr. Hale, a no-nonsense dyke from the village who'd seen every flavor of heartbreak. "You're grieving, see?" the doctor said over Zoom, her glasses perched like a challenge. "Not just her leaving, but the girl you were before she arrived. Fear's a hell of a director." Sienna nodded, staring at the frozen East River beyond her window. "What if I can't fix this?" "You don't fix love. You show up." Showing up meant letters, handwritten on thick cream stock, delivered by messenger to Serenity's door. No grand gestures, just truths. Memories of their first Barcelona market run, haggling over figs, the time Serenity's fever broke with Sienna's lullabies, off-key but earnest. "I was wrong to push you away," one read. "Not because of age or roles, but because I forgot we're equals in this mess." Serenity read them by lamplight, her loft a cocoon of turpentine and takeout cartons. Lila tried to fill the void, dinners at trendy spots, whispers of "we could be good again." But it rang hollow like dialogue from a bad indie flick. She missed Sienna's quiet strength, the way she'd hum Motown tunes while cooking carbonara. Her laugh a bomb on jagged days. Spring thawed the city, cherry blossoms rioting pink along the paths. Serenity's exhibition sold out, buyers from MoMA snapping up pieces that captured the ache of being seen and unseen. At the opening, a glittering affair in a converted warehouse, she wore a simple black sheath that hugged her newfound poise, hair grown out in soft waves. Sienna came uninvited but inevitable, slipping in like a shadow in silk, emerald dress that matched her eyes, a single orchid in her hair. They collided at the bar, the crowd a hum around them. "You came," Serenity said, voice steady but pulse racing. "Wouldn't miss it." Sienna's smile was tentative, champagne flute trembling in her hand. "These paintings. They're breathtaking. Like you." Serenity sipped her sparkling water, the fizz biting her tongue. "They're angry. Hurt. But there's hope in the light, see? At the edges." Sienna nodded, gaze tracing the canvas nearest. Two silhouettes embracing against a crumbling cliffside, waves crashing below. "I see it. And I'm sorry for the edges I darkened." The night unfolded in fits, small talk with patrons, Sienna's arm brushing hers as they navigated the throng. When the crowd thinned, they stepped onto the fire escape, the Manhattan skyline a jagged crown under a velvet sky. "I sold the brownstone," Sienna said abruptly, leaning on the rail. "Moving to LA for the studio expansion. Needed a change." Serenity's chest tightened, the city wind whipping her hair. "LA. Of course. Fresh scripts, fresh starts." "Not fresh. Just forward." Sienna turned, her face illuminated by a distant billboard's glow. "Come with me. Not as anything but us, partners if you'll have it. Equals building something real." The word hung, a bridge over the abyss. Serenity searched those amber eyes, seeing the woman who'd knelt in the rain, who'd fought courts and customs for a scared kid. Age was just numbers. Love was the story they wrote together. "Equals," she echoed, stepping closer. "But we take it slow. No more hiding." Their kiss this time was deliberate, a scene they'd rehearsed in dreams, soft, searching, laced with the promise of tomorrows. Ella welcomed them with sun-bleached sprawl and eucalyptus whispers, a far cry from Brooklyn's grit but ripe for reinvention. They leased a mid-century modern in the Hollywood Hills, glass walls framing canyons that stretched like open palms. Sienna's company thrived, greenlit for a prestige series on queer icons of the 80s. Serenity, with her MFA in hand, landed a gig designing sets, her touch infusing scenes with the intimacy of lived longing. But drama, that relentless extra, had lines yet to deliver. It arrived in the form of Claudia Voss, Sienna's ex from a decade past. A producer with a razor wit and a grudge honed sharp as a stiletto. Claudia, now helming a rival studio, had never forgiven Sienna for choosing career over their whirlwind romance, the one that ended in screaming matches and shattered wineglasses. Spotting them at a Vanity Fair Oscar party, Sienna's arm around Serenity's waist, their easy laughter a beacon, Claudia saw opportunity. The sabotage was subtle at first. Whispers to investors about Sienna's distraction. A leaked email chain twisting old flirtations with Victoria into fresh scandal. Then bolder, a tabloid splash. Silver screen siren and age gap affair. Mentor's muse or midnight madness? Paparazzi swarmed their gate, flashes like gunfire, headlines dredging Serenity's past as the homeless teen turned trophy. Serenity, scrolling in their sunlit kitchen, Felt the old chill, the rain-slicked alley, the weight of being other. "This is what you signed up for?" she asked Sienna that night, voice edged with fracture, as they barricaded the windows with sheets. Sienna pulled her close, the scent of her Chanel grounding. "No. But we face it together. Like always." The climax crashed during production week, the series set to film exteriors in Barcelona. A full-circle nod to their origins. Claudia arrived unannounced on set, clipboard in hand as a consultant, her smile venomous. "Darling, see," she purred over craft services, loud enough for the crew to hear. "Still collecting strays? This one's got that wide-eyed innocence. Reminds me of you. Back when you believed in happy endings." Serenity, adjusting a prop olive branch nearby, froze. The crew tittered, eyes darting. Sienna's jaw clenched, but before she could fire back, Serenity stepped forward, chin lifted. "Innocence? Honey, I've survived more betrayals before breakfast than you've had lovers. And see? She's the real deal. Not the games you play to feel alive." The set hushed, tension coiling like a spring. Claudia's laugh was ice. "Oh, sweetie. You're the rebound, the feel-good story. When the spotlight fades, she'll trade you for someone who matches her league." Sienna's voice cut through steel-wrapped silk. "Get off my set, Claudia. You're done here, and anywhere near us." Security escorted her out, but the damage lingered, a rift in the crew's easy rhythm. That night, in their rented villa overlooking the Costa Brava, Serenity unraveled. "What if she's right?" she whispered, curled on the terrace chaise, the sea a restless murmur below. "I'm the kid you saved. What if that's all I ever am?" Sienna knelt, taking her hands, callous from years of wielding pens and hearts. "You saved me too, Ren. From being alone in this. We're not a story I wrote. We're the ones we choose every day." Tears fell, mingling with the salt air, and in that vulnerability they rebuilt. Long talks till dawn, boundaries redrawn like set marks. Claudia's ploy backfired. Her studio pulled funding on a sour note, while Sienna's series buzzed with authenticity, the scandal fueling empathy rather than outrage. Summer in Barcelona healed in layers, like peeling back onion skins to find the tender heart. The series wrapped under cobalt skies, cast and crew toasting with cava on the beach, bonfires crackling against the night's velvet. Serenity and Sienna stole moments. A handclasp in the surf, stolen kisses behind Sagrada Familia's spires. Reminders that love wasn't a spotlight but a steady flame. Back in LA, life settled into a rhythm both foreign and fitting. Mornings with espresso on the deck, watching hawks wheel over the chaparral. Evenings scripting by the pool, Serenity's sketches inspiring Sienna's dialogue. They adopted a rescue mutt named Luna, a wiry terrier with one floppy ear, who bounded between them like punctuation in their days. Therapy became joint. Dr. Hale's virtual sessions bridging coasts, unpacking the power imbalances of their start, forging equity from embers. Yet conflict simmered beneath, a subplot neither had cast. Sienna's empire demanded more. A biopic on Audre Lorde, greenlit with A-list attachment, pulling her to New York for months. Serenity, offered a solo exhibit in Chelsea, felt the tug of independence warring with attachment. "Go," Sienna urged over FaceTime, her hotel room a sterile blur. "This is your moment. Ours don't have to sync perfectly." But distance amplified doubts. In New York, Serenity reconnected with old flames, dinners with Lila, now platonic but probing. Coffee with a poet whose verses echoed her own aches. Whispers followed. Sienna's girl. Bold move, flying solo. The exhibit opening was a triumph. Galleries clamoring, collectors bidding. But solitude crept in, the loft's high ceilings echoing her footsteps like accusations. Sienna, ensconced in Manhattan's frenzy, felt the strain. Board meetings bled into investor schmoozes, where Victoria Langford reappeared. All polished poise and veiled barbs. "Missed our spark," she'd tease over martinis, her hand lingering on Sienna's arm. Exhausted, Sienna rebuffed but faltered. A late-night text. "Coffee? For old times," sent in a haze of jet lag and loneliness. Serenity saw it pop up on a shared iPad. Left charging during a visit. The words hit like a rogue wave. Not betrayal anew, but a fracture in the trust they'd mended. She confronted Sienna in the airport lounge, suitcases at their feet like sentinels. Coffee? With her. After everything. Sienna's face crumpled, the terminal's announcements a distant drone. It was nothing, a reflex. I deleted it before sending. But you thought it. Serenity's voice cracked, drawing stares. I'm here building us and you're reaching back to ghosts. The flight home was a chasm of silence, LA's sprawl greeting them like an indifferent host. Days turned brittle. Polite breakfasts, separate studios, Luna whining at the divide. Sienna threw herself into the biopic, casting calls a distraction from the hollow in her chest. Serenity painted furiously, abstracts of tangled vines and severed roots, her agent booking a TEDx talk on art as exile. The breaking point came mid-fall, leaves turning in the canyons like warnings. Sienna's mother, long estranged, a faded beauty from Sicilian roots who disowned her for that lifestyle, surfaced after a cancer diagnosis. I need you, the letter read, postmarked from a Queen's hospice. Sienna, ever the fixer, flew east alone, telling Serenity, it's closure, not reunion. But closure cracked open old wounds. In the sterile room smelling of antiseptic and regret, Maria Rossi, once vibrant, now frail as tissue, whispered apologies laced with conditions. I was wrong, Figlia. But that girl, she's half your age. What will people say? Sienna's laugh was bitter. People? This is our life, not their script. She stayed a week longer than planned, phone calls to Serenity growing sparse. She's fading fast. Excuses that rang thin. Back in Ella's Serenity seethed, the absence a mirror to her 12th year abandonment. You're choosing them again, she accused when Sienna landed, jet-lagged and hollow-eyed. Family over us. No, I'm choosing truth. Sienna's voice rose, fraying. You think I don't carry you? Every choice is us. But I can't erase my past for your peace. The fight escalated, words as weapons. Serenity hurling savior complex. Sienna retorting ingrate. Plates shattered in the kitchen, Luna cowering under the table. Serenity packed a bag, fleeing to a friend's in Silver Lake. I need space, she texted, to remember who I am without you. Sienna collapsed on the couch, the house a echo chamber of what-ifs. Days blurred into a haze, cancelled meetings, walks with Luna along Mulholland, where the city sprawled like a lover's promise unkept. She reached for the script, penning a scene of two women at a crossroads. One fleeing, one rooted, the space between them a canvas for choice. Serenity in the borrowed bungalow, sketched by candlelight, her lines softening from rage to reflection. Friends urged divorce, age gaps a red flag. But she saw Sienna's letters, the villa confessions, the steady hand in storms. At her TEDx, streamed live from a sunlit auditorium, she spoke of loving through the fractures, her voice steady. We don't save each other, we witness. And sometimes that means letting go to hold tighter. The clip went viral, hashtags blooming. Witness love queer exiles. Sienna watched from bed, tears carving paths down her cheeks, Luna's head in her lap. The reconciliation brewed in quiet acts. Sienna sending Luna as an emissary, the dog nosing Serenity's door with a note. Miss your sketches. And you. Groceries appeared on the stoop. Serenity's favorites, figs and manchego from that first Barcelona dawn. No pressure, just presence. Finally, under a harvest moon, Serenity returned. The door opened to Sienna in sweats, hair tousled, vulnerability raw. I sold the biopic rights, Sienna said, no preamble. Stepping back. For us. Serenity dropped her bag, crossing the threshold. I don't want you diminished. Just here. They talked till stars wheeled overhead. Fears unpacked like luggage, boundaries redrawn with care. No grand vows but a pact. Quarterly check-ins, solo trips to nurture selves. Love, they agreed, was a co-written draft revised with grace. As winter softened into a golden California spring, their bond deepened, roots intertwining like the bougainvillea climbing their trellis. Sienna mentored from the sidelines, her company incubating queer voices. A fund for young filmmakers like the girl she'd once found in the rain. Serenity's career soared. Her TEDx led to a book deal, Fractured Frames. Art, Love and the Spaces Between, a memoir disguised as essays, weaving their story without naming names but honoring truths. Yet humanism, that gentle undercurrent, demanded more than personal peace. Conflict reemerged not as betrayal but as broader storms, the world's relentless gaze on their union. A profile in The Atlantic meant to celebrate, twisted into scrutiny. From park bench to power couple. The ethics of age and affection. Online trolls swarmed, dredging Serenity's youth, Sienna's privilege, hashtags like predatory love clashing with love wins. Serenity, scrolling in their sunroom amid potted succulents, felt the old exile stir. "They're painting us as villains," she said, voice tight, handing Sienna the tablet. Sienna scanned, fury flashing in her eyes. "They're lazy. Writing headlines over heartbeats." She set it aside, pulling Serenity onto the chaise. "We know our truth. Let them yell at shadows." But shadows lengthened. Protests erupted outside Sienna's studio after a conservative outlet spun the piece into Hollywood's grooming epidemic. Picketers with signs, "Protect our youth," blocked gates, delaying shoots. Sienna's board wavered, whispers of optics in emails leaked to Variety. The climax hit during Pride Month, a cruel irony. They planned a quiet getaway to Big Sur, clifftop cabin, waves crashing like applause, but en route their car was mobbed at a gas station in Monterey. A man, red-faced and ranting, pounded the window. "Pervert! Corrupting kids!" Glass spiderwebbed under his fist, shards tinkling as Serenity shielded her face. Sienna floored it, heart slamming, pulling over miles later at a scenic overlook. They emerged shaking, the Pacific a vast, indifferent witness. Serenity slid down the embankment, boots crunching gravel, sobs breaking free. "This is what my dad saw in me. Unnatural. What if they're right?" Sienna followed, wrapping her in a fierce embrace, wind whipping their hair. "No. They're afraid of joy, of difference, of us thriving where they can't." She cupped Serenity's face, thumbs brushing tears. "You were thrown out for loving. I pulled you in for the same. That's not corruption, that's courage." Sirens wailed distant, police called by a Good Samaritan, and they gave statements, the story hitting local news by nightfall. Instead of backlash, allies mobilized. Glad statements, celebrity retweets. A flood of DMs from queer kids echoing Serenity's youth. "Your story saved me," one read. "Kept me from the streets." Back in LA they channeled the fury. Sienna testified before a congressional panel on youth homelessness, her voice steady. "I found a girl in a park, discarded for who she loved. We need shelters, not scandals, safety, not shame." Serenity launched an art initiative, park bench portraits, workshops for LGBTQ+ teens, turning pain into pigment. Betrayal's echo faded, replaced by deeper communion. One evening, as monsoon rains lashed the hills, they drove to Griffith Observatory, the city a constellation below. Sienna spread a blanket on the grass, Luna chasing fireflies, and pulled a small box from her pocket. Not a ring but a pair of etched silver cuffs interlocking. "No labels," she said, fastening one around Serenity's wrist, then her own. "Just this, linked but free." Serenity traced the engraving, witnesses. Tears pricking anew but joyful. "To all the tomorrows." Their kiss sealed it, under stars sharp as promises, the world a distant audience. Years folded forward, time's gentle edit. At 32, Serenity headlined her first museum retrospective in Barcelona. Full circle. Walls alive with evolutions, from raw charcoal to luminous oils. Sienna, 60, stepped down as CEO. Her final film, a documentary on queer elders, narrated by them both. Voices intertwined, recounting parks and precipices. The ending wasn't tidy. No sweeping montage of weddings or white veils, for theirs was a love unbound by convention. But humanistic, yes, a life of quiet revolutions. They fostered teens from the streets, young queers with backpacks full of dreams, teaching them to script their own salvations. Serenity's book became curriculum, Sienna's fund a lifeline. On a crisp autumn day, back in that Brooklyn park, willows still whispering, they sat on the bench, Luna gray muzzled at their feet. Serenity leaned into Sienna's shoulder, watching joggers and dogwalkers, the pond rippling like memory. "Think we'd do it again?" she asked, half-smile playing. Sienna chuckled, kissing her temple. "Every damn time. Rain and all." And in that choice they found their fade to black. Not tragic but tenderly true. Two women, forged in exile, forever home in each other.